Hello and welcome to the We Are Change talk show. Thank you for tuning in. We have another powerful broadcast for you with a world-class guest, so be sure to stick around. But I'd like to address a situation here at We Are Change Melbourne. I have been framed for impersonation of a government official, targeted for my activism. I have court on February the 17th. Any donations would be much appreciated. That will go towards my legal fund. I have a barrister who is currently formulating a defence right now as we speak. And there is also an event catered towards political prisoners and people that have suffered due to their campaign for freedom. So I urge everybody to attend. Plenty of information, and this will be a family-friendly event. But now let's cross over to our interview with Ole D. So joining me once again is Ole D. It's an absolute privilege to have him back on the show once more. We've covered some groundbreaking subjects, and it's wonderful to be able to do another broadcast. It's a very treacherous time for many people. A lot of people are suffering. How are you managing since we last spoke?
Well, we're being attacked from many different angles, but at the same time, we're doing good. The thing is that what I really like about myself and my sweetheart is that every time they attack us, every time we get shut down, we manage to regroup and come back stronger than ever. So it's so it's a matter of keeping the inner balance and, not freak out. And when the attacks come, just keep breathing and keep the focus, not go into violence or revenge mode or anything like that, but just keep the inner balance. And then we come up, we surf the waves better and better. So interesting times, to say the least. And I know that you are really suffering, or people of Melbourne, you are in, what would I say, the anus of the world when it comes to the New World Order. I mean that it is unbelievable, the dark spot that I don't know what it is with Melbourne that has caused that, if it's a very, very, advanced Freemasonic networks or whatever it is with Melbourne. But I mean, you are getting it full blown in your face. So I'm very sorry for that.
Yeah, thank you. It's a real war zone here, and you get attacked for speaking about it on YouTube and other platforms. So today the subject matter we're discussing is very mysterious and a very dark place. Bohemian Grove, a restricted 2,700-acre campground located in California. A lot of people frequenting are prominent, very powerful politicians, musicians, artists, and yes, it has a very shady background. Now, can you elaborate a bit for the viewers just about the history of this place and some of the secrets that are held within, please?
The Bohemian Grove, oh my God, it's been a long time since I looked into that, but it's a very bizarre place, to say the least. It is a place where people, just like you said, the upper hierarchies of society, I would say that is a misunderstanding. They talk about the top of the pyramid. I would say what they forget to tell you is that the pyramid is upside down, and that the top of the pyramid is actually as low as you can come when it comes to human quality. And so the people who are in these higher, lower levels, in certain areas, they only get invited by people on the inside. I mean, you do not get to these levels if you are not invited and accepted, or in a situation where they can control you through blackmail and stuff. So in many different levels, people are being invited into secret meetings, secret brotherhoods, secret gatherings for parties, or because, oh no, you can be one of us, you feel you are the chosen one. But what people are often not aware of, I mean, we had this with Lolita Island and Jeffrey Epstein, Mark Dutroux, Jimmy Savile, other areas also. It is a matter of getting people by the balls where they can be controlled. So they get them in a situation that where they can corrupt them, where they can get them into control. And so on a higher level in this bizarre world, or a lower level, is this Bohemian Grove in California. It's right in the middle out of it's a beautiful forest, redwood forest in certain areas, and quite isolated, but still you can access it. But it is a place where many people that you see on TV, movies, famous individuals for many different things have met up. I think it's once a year, and it's been going on for, whoa, I'm not sure, but I would say I would guess at least 100 years, something like that. I'm not really sure when it started. But what is going on there is very strange. They have there's a massive owl up on like a stage almost, and they have all kinds of bizarre ceremonies, rituals. There are a lot of rumors that I don't know if they're true or not. I would not be surprised if they are. That includes sacrifice of human lives, all kinds of bizarre stuff also, where there's a lot of reports about people disappearing before it, and then have been seen then during these ceremonies, yet to just disappear again forever. And I think a lot of them are buried in unmarked graves. So it is very strange when you hear about people who are there. I mean, we're talking about the nice people like Ronald Reagan, and then you got some not so nice people like George Bush is one of the ones that are there all the time, senior especially. But many in these higher hierarchies, also in the Bilderberg Group, in the Trilateral Commission, in the Council on Foreign Relations, are people that you will also find there. So yeah, very bizarre.
Well said. And yes, it's very disturbing to see the upper echelons of society, some of the most wealthy and powerful people, turning up and engaging in some of these satanic, druidic acts as well. And there's a play, you mentioned the owl, they have the cremation of care. And yes, it's very eerie. There is a effigy that they burn, and there's a lot of chanting. They stand around in robes, and they say they'll burn their dull cares away. And if you watch it, yes, it comes across very devilish. And there has been many allegations made. As you said, there was also a journalist, Anthony J. Hilda. He was calling for a dig out there to try and excavate some of the bodies, they believe, that have been buried there. A lot of satanic rituals have been conducted out of sight, and the security presence is very alarming. Snipers up in the hills looking down. Police have said they won't even venture in. They haven't got permission. So it's very heavily guarded. Then the level of secrecy that's taking place, it's very worrying. And all of this is taking place in this lovely Californian redwoods in the forest. So yes, it's very much an eye-opener for a lot of people that do research on this. There's many groves that have been reported, but this one seems to take people's interest, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the most famous one, and it is every time they meet in secrecy. You have to ask yourself, why does it have to be secret? You know, but when it's secrecy, it's heavily protected. You know, if it's the Bilderberg meeting, I've been speaking outside the Bilderberg meetings a couple of times. These type of places, also when the private gatherings. I mean, it's like a James Bond movie. You got the whole shebang. There are helicopters, snipers, police, whatever. And many times when I've been at these type of places, I've been speaking to the police because, you know, the police officers that are standing there protecting or there to keep the law and order, what they say, are actually protecting these dark forces that are hurting humanity in so many different ways. So somebody in a uniform, you have to challenge them and say, listen, are you aware of who you're actually protecting? Are you aware of these individuals in there? Are you aware of their actions? Because we're looking at criminality on a very, very high level. And when it comes to many of them, even though they hide behind very official titles like prime ministers and stuff like that, when you look at the actions, we're looking at mass murderers, many of them, organized crime on a very high level, corruption on a very high level, extortion. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. When you start pinpointing who they are, I mean, not these fancy people, or, you know, you see them, they come with bodyguards in a BMW, they got a flag behind them and they look great on TV. But you start really to expose and find out, who are you? How did you end up here? How did you get to that position? And very often it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? What the hell? Because like, if you and I, for instance, we park our car in the wrong place, they will tow it away. If you don't pay, they will destroy it, they will take it, they will do, you know, like, you don't have to do anything to get heavily hit. These individuals live by other standards. They are in an area where there's a whole different set of rules that as their rules are hard. It's like you follow the guideline and you're fine. You're loyal to the cause and you will be lifted up. If you don't, it will go very bad for you. So they live in a dangerous world. I don't envy them. You know, it's shark waters, but they're sharks themselves. So it's like, and they're surrounded by people that are famous for backstabbing, you know, lying, thieving, killing, not themselves, but they order killings and so on. So brutal area. But when it comes to the legal repercussions of their actions, they walk free. They walk like they are untouchables, and many of them behave like that as well. And then they step forward at times, you know, at press conferences, they say what is being told for them to say. They have teleprompters. You know, the reason why many of them stand like speaking like that, da, 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 and then that, da, 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 da. It's because they got teleprompters. It's not because they're really good at speaking to an audience. Often there is no audience there. It's just delivering the message to the masses. So I've been in contact with people that have been on the inside, that have been part of the Illuminati and so on early on. It's a very, very strange experience for me. Because I don't know about you, Jeff, but for me, it's like, I don't feel that I have evil in me. It's not something that I feel attracted to. It's not something that it sort of comes natural to me, where I just, I want to, so for me, it's been like, why are they doing this? And I don't understand the whole power thing either. You know, why is power such a kick, you know, to be able to get other people to do stuff like that? Why do you get a massive thrill out of killing someone or torturing someone? For me, it's just like way bizarre. So over the years, in my bookshelves, you've had like books either about spirituality or awakening or whatever, or serial killers, or, you know, like these extremes. It's been like black and white, because the way I see it when I look at my own life, it's almost like I've been trying to understand the light and the dark, and good and evil, and what is going on in this matrix life, whatever we're living in, may it be round or flat. So when I get the chance to meet someone who either have met people in the elite who work close to George Bush Sr., for instance, or Kissinger or George Soros, these type of individuals, when I meet people, because I haven't met them personally, I'm super interested in, like, how do they smell? You know, how do they laugh? What is the feeling when you're close to someone like that? What is, you know, Hillary Clinton? Do you feel like hugging her when you were you awestruck? Do you know, like, but what I get to, what people tell me, like Barbara Honegger, for instance, who was working under Ronald Reagan, and who was also close to George Bush Sr., not because she liked him, but because of work-wise, at the exact time when Ronald Reagan was almost assassinated by, they did a hit against it. And everybody knew it's Bush Sr. that was behind it, but it failed. And anyway, he took over after that. But so I asked Barbara about, Ronald Reagan. She loved Ronald Reagan. And if you look at Ronald Reagan, he doesn't have that whole thing. He was an actor, and that was what he was doing. He was acting. He looked good. He was nice. He could shake hands. He could make people laugh. Boom. Great. He was put there to play a role, and he did that. George Bush Sr., that is a whole different ballgame, because now we're talking about one of the real players. And I asked Barbara, when you were around him, she said it was bizarre. It was very strange, because she said she could feel, even if she didn't hear him enter the room, she could feel the temperature change. I've heard that with Hillary as well. She's not very tall. And that she has the same kind of icy thing around her. And I spoke to Chip Tatum, who is a CIA whistleblower, who is for more than, he was from the 70s, I think it was. He was the pilot for all pilots from Richard Nixon up to George Bush Sr. in 92. And he got up in the ranks. He was hijacked by the CIA to become an assassin. And he was the commander of George Bush Sr.'s private hit team called Pegasus, taking part of at least 14 assassinations. So this is not an amateur, this guy. Anyway, so I spoke to Chip and I asked him about George Bush Sr. And he said, his words, he said, he's the most brilliant man I've ever met, and by far the most evil. And coming from an assassin himself, who his whole career has been surrounded by, soldiers of fortune, assassins, snipers, to say something like that, that says a lot.
Yes.
And then I spoke also to, I was invited to a conference in Belgium where I was doing a talk in a church, and it was me, myself, and then Ronald Bernard, a former banker, who has stepped forward speaking about these things from the inside, because the way he said it was that he was really messed up by grown-ups when he was a kid, really badly. So when he was about 12, he said, fuck it all. From now on, I am going to destroy everyone. I'm going to rule. I'm going to be the richest man ever. I'm going to hurt people to get back at them. I'm going to, so he became this smiling, very brutal individual who was then invited, because of his way of living and actions, and so invited into these levels, that the exact thing we're talking about here. And he tried, he loved it. He loved the ruthlessness. He loved super psychopaths, because there's like, do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. Like Aleister Crowley says, whatever, just go for it. And so he loved it, until it came to a point where it got too dark for him, because he's not a psychopath, born psychopath. A messed up individual for sure, but I can almost guarantee he is not a psychopath. Anyway, so we were giving our talks in front of this audience, and then they said afterwards Q&A, and then instead of one person in the audience said, "Why don't you ask each other questions?" And I said, "Yay, baby, fantastic!" Because I really would like to ask Ronald a few questions. So I was standing close to him. So I was watching his eyes, because they are the ones the eyes are very important to me, so I was looking into his eyes, and he has beautiful eyes, very innocent, childlike eyes, almost a bit immature eyes. And so I asked him about these inner circles, and he was brutally honest. I must say, I admire him for his honesty, because he said a lot of things that was not very flattering about himself. So that was very brave to do that. Anyway, I asked him, when you were in these circles, how did you look upon someone like this one, who is trying to expose these things? He said, you represented evil. I found that interesting, because I think both you and I, Jeff, we're striving to get that way. What they're striving is to get that way. Our boss has a big beard, if you believe the cloud version, and their boss has horns and like really hot climate. So when he was talking, it was really intriguing to me. So I said, okay, so do these people see themselves as evil? He said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They see themselves as doing good, striving this way. So I said, okay, fair enough. So how do they express love? How do they express? He said, through pain. I was like, what? Through pain, he said. So I said, but so in their families, yes, he said, through pain, through torture. And he started describing things they were doing to their kids. I said, please, I can't listen. It's too much for me. He was talking about electrified iron cages and stuff where they put their kids in because they loved them. I mean, so what I found out is that I will never be able to understand their mindset. But I know that it's the exact opposite of my mindset. I strive for goodness, for kindness, forgiveness, compassion, equality, liberty, freedom for everyone. They strive for the exact opposite: absolute brutal control, absolute power, absolute violence, death, destruction. They see destruction as the goal. We try to build things up, they try to destroy it. So it's almost like plus and minus in this matrix or whatever it is we're living in. Both are needed because we need left to understand right, we need up to understand down, and apparently we need evil to understand good, so that we have a choice, so that we can choose. Because the thing is, in this life, it's amazing. I could become the most notorious serial killer in Bali within the next 30 minutes if I so chose to. I've got a kitchen knife not far from here. There's a lot of people out in the street not far from here. I could go and just go chop, 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 chop. But I do not, because my mindset is different. And I was born with an inner compass that was sort of showing me this is good, that is bad.
That's right.
A few thousand years ago, there was these bearded guys or whatever they were that said, listen, actually, we only need about 10 rules. Let's put them down on a stone plate, chop, 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 so you can't erase it. Don't kill, don't hurt, don't steal, don't take somebody else's spouse, treat the other people with respect, especially the elders, and that's about it. Try to leave any space in a better shape when you leave than when you entered. Just do good, be good. Kindness is cool, lift the world.
And that's how society should be structured. It's difficult to understand the psychology of some of these psychopaths. The wealth and the power is like a drug to them, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to reach those higher levels, to have those memberships to secret societies, Bilderberg Groups, Bohemian Groves. And there's a lot of rituals that take place along the way, and murderous oaths and oaths of secrecy as well. And before they know it, they're too far in to turn around. And yes, it's very dark, as well as some of the Freemasonic oaths that are taken and some of the rites of passage that they go along with. And it can even be very humiliating for some, as it goes back to some of the plays that they perform here at the Grove. They're dressing up in women's clothes. We see pictures of Henry Kissinger as well, and they're dancing around together. And that's very strange and unusual that they don't like women turning up here. It's very much a men's only club. And yes, I've heard of stories that corroborate with that too. It's very much intergenerational, the abuse that they suffer as a child as well. And the MK Ultra, it goes back to that. And a lot of these people are bred for that purpose. So then it sort of takes away a layer of compassion that most people have in society. And that's why they're able to inflict pain on others, because they've experienced that, and the level of darkness and evil is all they know. So it's interesting how you said you feel sorry for some of these characters, because yes, their world is very much evil, and it's not pure. Love, compassion, kindness, and sincerity is very foreign to some of them, isn't it?
It is. Exact. I mean, when you say love, they hear evil. When you say compassion, they hear the opposite, because these it's very, very odd. I don't get it. That's what I said. I don't understand it at all. And I also think that when you're born a psychopath, you can't blame a person like that, because they just have it. They haven't got it in them. They don't have empathy. They do not have a feeling for, I'm hurting someone, I shouldn't do it, because it's not in their system. So it's like, a sociopath is something different. That is somebody who was born more or less normal and then broken down or hurt or injured by life, turning into the same behavior as a psychopath. And often the psychopaths are trying to destroy or destroy in our point of view, but I think to prepare their children to be able to take over their empires of power. Because if they are sensitive people, if they're not ruthless, they cannot continue this reign of terror. So they need to break them down to be as ruthless as they are themselves. But it's like messed up, to say the least, absolutely messed up. So the question is, Jeff, is how have they ended up in these positions of such power? And that, I would say, is the responsibility of us. You know, we've been too much up our own butt, you know, our own greed, our own desires. So we haven't noticed what is going on. We've been too much into partying or whatever we've been up to, and not really looking and seeing, hey, wait a second. How did that individual go from there to there? How did he, who was sort of a suspected pedophile, now he's head of NATO? How did that happen? That guy over there, and he was fired because of whatever, and now he's the boss of that thing. This individual, you know, it's like very confusing. And it's because we have just sat in the background saying, well, it's not really important, is it? You know, like, let's have another slice of pizza and get on with life. You know, another X Factor. I like that. Some more football, bring it on. Give me another beer. And in the meantime, these individuals who are not interested in that have moved forward. They work hard and it's in the families, in generations also, just like you say, that with a very, very structured plan that has been out in the open for many, many, many years. They've not been hiding it at all. George Bush Sr. on 9/11, that date, 11 years before 9/11, 2001. In 1990, George Bush Sr., that was the first time he presented the New World Order. Here you go, folks. This is what we're going to do. You have no say in it. We are going to do it. We're going to control everything. So you can just fuck off, bend over, and accept it, because this is going to happen. And we said, oh, fantastic speech. Thank you so much, Mr. Bush. And then all of these things that have happened along the way, that has just fall into place, saying, oh, it's happening now. It's happening now. It's happening now. And nobody reacts. The fourth industrial revolution, what the hell is that? Agenda 21, the same thing. How that was in the 90s that got started with the architects Gro Harlem Brundtland, the former prime minister of Norway, Bilderberg, Morris Strong, another bad boy, Bilderberg and Trilateral also, who's also the, what should I say, the head trainer of many of these people that are sent forward on the global stage. He's the guy also behind the whole climate change, that whole agenda, you know, Greta Thunberg, all of these things. Who's in the behind? Morris Strong. And these powerful powers, you know, the George Soros backing, all of it. It's the same, just different themes have just been pushing this agenda forward while we have done nothing. So I'm so happy to see that it seems like the world is slowly or finally getting a flamethrower up their butt saying, what the hell is happening here? Enough is enough. And hopefully people like yourself are not going to be destroyed before that change is over, you know, because we are being targeted heavily. I'm surrounded by people who have died or in prison or in mental institutions, or we were threatened with deportation. You know, it's like, it is hardcore. Yeah. It's a rough game.
It certainly is. And we're copying the full brunt of the New World Order now. And sadly, it wasn't until many people were impacted and there was mass devastation that it really hit home. People started doing some research and waking up. it took something very serious like this for people to take action. And there's a very well-known member of Bohemian Grove, David Gergen. He's been frequenting there for a long time. He was recently having a discussion with Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum. So yes, a lot of the company, a lot of these people, they stick together, birds of a feather. And sadly, we see with a lot of industries, when people reach a certain level of success, they become corrupted. And like this Grove, it's one club amongst many. There's many clubs that are involved in this as well. So you see musicians, actors, politicians, they all have their own cabins, they all have their own areas, and they're groomed for these positions. We see a lot of parties that they're invited to, and it's a slow process. And when they know that they're trustworthy, that's when a lot of the corruption takes over. And the initiation rituals, it's very complex how they've designed this, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't know it from the inside. But I have really tried to get as much understanding as possible. I've been inside some Freemasonic headquarters. I mean, it is very odd, to say the least. Very odd. They say that if we're talking about the Freemasons, they say that they are a charity organization. They say that they're doing good. They say that but I tell you, yeah, there's a reason for all of these different levels of degrees. Also the degree, I think it's a matter of the level of understanding or the level of knowledge that you're being allowed into, because there's a lot of occult knowledge. Occult just means hidden. They are hiding a lot of powerful knowledge from us to keep us in slavery. It's been taken away by a purpose. And so when the higher up you get in these Freemasonic levels, through the rituals, through showing your loyalty, through going through all kinds of stuff that can be used against you, these kind of bizarre rituals that I'm sure is being filmed and noticed and everything, so that, for instance, lying naked in a casket, masturbating while screaming out everything, all your sins, whatever you've done. Somebody standing in the background, oh, yes, and then he raped a 14-year-old, and yes, and he did that. Oh, great. And then, so the day when something goes bad and this individual says, well, screw this, I'm not up for this, this is just not right. I am going to stand up and say, they will just say, listen, before you decide to do that, would you mind we're just going to show you a little video here that will be shared on mainstream media that we control, 24/7. If you decide to go on, feel free, but these are the consequences. You can kiss your own butt and your life as such as you know it, bye-bye, including everything else. But please feel free, stand up against us, we will destroy you. So in these Freemasonic levels, I think, we're talking about 33. That's the official levels in most countries. In countries like Scandinavian countries, it's 13. But the lower levels are a brotherhood of brothers. That is a beautiful thing, where they help each other, they support each other, they have all of these fancy handshakes and stuff like that, so that if you are in a tricky situation, you call a brother, he will be there for you. Nobody will know about it, but suddenly the judge will just look the other way, the police will look the other way, because you're brothers. And this is also where they do charity work. But when you see the amount of money coming into these circles and the amount of money going out, there's no balance whatsoever. It's like a tiny fraction that is being used, and also the way they are being used is strange, like kids' hospitals and like they have this bizarre, strange undertone. So, but then the higher up you come, as far as I've been told, is that you never know if you answer the questions right or wrong. If you answer, you will never. There's no right or wrong answer being told. You answer, you do, and then suddenly you just stop from going up in a hierarchy if you have made a mistake, if you're not reliable or whatever, or you continue if you are what they're looking for. And that person is somebody who can hide the secrets and also can be totally loyal to their cause, not having second thoughts or, I would say, normal type of mindset. But they see themselves as incredibly well-respected, blah, 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 in society and people that should be worshipped. But I tell you, when I see so many of these, it's like, that is not something that I admire at all. And many times you can see, for instance, if there's a strange court case, somebody has done something bad, and then he's taken to court. Oh, no, it's going to happen. And then suddenly the district attorney and the lawyer and the judge somehow gets him off the hook. How did that happen? If you or I go in there with smashed, crushed tomatoes, that's boom, game over. And somehow they got off the hook. These are the cases that I often look into. And what do you know? Judge Freemason, the accused one Freemason, the DA Freemason, and the lawyer Freemason. So it's a rigged game in these situations.
It certainly
is. So this is,
yeah, and they're given immunity from prosecution, and that's very accurate. They occupy high levels in society: judges, district attorneys, lawyers, and that's why the system caters for them, and your normal people just aren't allowed to get a free trial. So yes, the game is very much rigged. And what a brilliant cover too for some of these Freemason lodges. People down in the lower degrees, they're doing charity work in their community, raising donations for local hospitals. And on the outside, the exterior, it comes across like they're doing really wonderful work and they're a blessing for their community. But behind closed doors, some of the meetings and the higher up you get through the ranks, you start to realize that it's very much Luciferian. They've taken an oath, a very satanic one at that, and that takes priority over the person's marriage. They take a vow of secrecy where they can't even disclose to their wife what was spoken about at some of the meetings. And they've even organized a separate lodge for the women, the Order of Eastern Star. And yes, they go to enormous lengths to try and contain the information and stop it from getting out. Yes, it's very much esoteric, and the higher it gets, it's very dark. In some of the rituals, they agree to have their throat slit from ear to ear if they release some of the secrets, and blindfolded. Yes, it's all very bizarre, and that a lot of people would become disorientated with that as they go up. And that's how a lot of people, I'd imagine, they would lose their soul after a while when they keep partaking in these rituals. That's how it's designed, isn't it?
You know, when you look into all of these power pyramids, they're organized and designed in the same way. It's total compartmentalization. You know, everybody just knows their little part. They're being informed their little part of their little, so it's like when you look at you go to a bank, you talk to the person behind the counter. That person doesn't know what the Federal Reserve is doing with the world, So that person is just doing their job, but it's a cogwheel in the machine. That person's boss, who has the office behind the public office, doesn't know what the Federal Reserve or the Illuminati is doing with the whole thing. That his boss and the owners, and then the owners of the bank, and then you start coming into where it really, where the real thing is happening, where the real agenda is. So this is the thing. It's all the time. Everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing, including the police now, including military. I think a lot of police, by the way, and military, I'm contacted by some, they are feeling very, very bad because of what they're being ordered to do. I say you still have a free choice. Just because you have an order, that's no excuse. You are the one doing it. So better think again. There's such a thing as the law of karma. And that goes for SWAT teams, military, police, anybody in uniform. Understand your profession has been hijacked and is now being used against people and against your oath. Most of these people in uniform have an oath that is loyalty towards the people, not the rulers. But this has been hijacked, and I find the people in uniform are the most important people to reach, almost, because they're the ones protecting these dark forces from us. So it's like you have a serial killer with with our tax money funding his bodyguards, so that we cannot interfere with him continuing serial killing us. It's so bizarre. So anyway,
but yes, it's very diabolical the way it's set up like that, and the blackmail operations. And you mentioned Bilderberg, and it might start off fairly strange but innocent enough with the mock rituals, but they're way too far past the point of return when child sacrifice and satanic ritual abuse starts to enter the picture. And that's why they're bound to secrecy when they know that information, because they know there will be serious repercussions. And you mentioned you've covered Bilderberg on a couple of occasions. If you ask questions about what was discussed at some of these meetings, they're forbidden to divulge such information. Chatham House rules. They will often quote that as well. And yes, taxpayers' money is funding these events, and in a lot of luxurious hotels as well. So yes, they're using all the resources and people's hard-earned money against the people. Very, very diabolical, isn't it?
I mean, you have to give it to them. I mean, how have they been able to pull it off? It's unbelievable. But yeah.
They used all their intelligence for sinister and evil means. And if they used some of their knowledge and power to help third world countries install wells for clean drinking water, they could stop world hunger. They could bring so much peace and prosperity to this planet. But they don't want that. It's all built on depopulation and drawing in this dark power, which they believe. And they know all about dates, times, and moons as well. Some of the esoteric knowledge under a certain time and date and moon phase, they can perform a sacrifice and bring in some of this dark energy and power. See, a lot of people, they're too focused on their watch. They've got to work 9 to 5. They come home, they watch their TV, and then the next day they rinse and repeat. They're stuck in this routine. They don't know about the higher time that people should be ruling their lives by, which is taught at a lot of these lodges, and some of this secret information that we're not privy to. It's very unfair, isn't it?
It's totally unfair. It is absolutely totally unfair. But what I find is interesting is that what they are presenting to us is an inverted reality. Whatever they tell you, I can guarantee you almost it is the exact opposite. If they say child protective services, you look into it, really look into it, you'll find very possibly they're kidnapping children from families. Whatever they say, this is a war for freedom and democracy, look into it. It's absolute bullshit. It's for their greed. It's based on death, destruction, mayhem, violence. That is the name of the game. So whatever they say, just turn it upside down and suddenly it will make sense. Bad.
And they're always plotting their evil agendas at these lodges and at groves and other secret establishments that they've set up. They've always fantasized about this New World Order. They salivate at the mouth over the thought of it. And it's one of their favorite topics. They discuss this, and as it's approaching, they get more bold and brazen. And it's one of their preferred discussions that they have, restricting people's rights and liberties, and they get a real kick off the devastation being caused. Yes, very much sinister. And if you look at the Bible, they basically do the opposite. It's all very much backwards. Like you mentioned, Aleister Crowley, do what thou wilt, and do everything backwards. That's the formula that they have. So yes, it's very alarming. We need people to circulate petitions to try and shut down some of these lodges and some of these groves, and have a formal investigation into what's taking place there. The more that there's levels of secrecy and the more they act very suspicious, that's virtually a sign of guilt that something's taking place that's very nefarious. It appears that way, definitely, doesn't it?
It does indeed, and it's important to understand that not just anyone is invited into these meetings. They're almost all of them in the sort of called higher hierarchies of society. So it's like you said, well-paid people in the, you know, in the legal system, in the police system, lawyers, police, military, politicians, but also famous people, so-called, you know, like stars and different things are also invited in, people that also that they can use in different ways to access power in whatever it is, media, you know, medical stuff and so, but the lower ranks are never involved. So it is when we are waiting for the higher part of society to solve problems, there is a problem, please come and help us. It never happens. And why is that? It's exactly that. We're going to the wrong place. Instead of asking them for the solution, we should demand transparency and see where is the problem actually coming from, because many times it's coming straight from them. But it's served to in an inverted, just like you say, backwards. That's another word for inverted when it comes to that.
Yes.
It's an inverted reality they're presenting us. So what they're saying is absolutely not true. And I love it, you know, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That is part of the fourth industrial revolution, or the Agenda 21. If people are not aware of what Agenda 21 is, please look it up, because you are living it right now. And it's very, very, very dark. It is the Agenda 21. There's more than 170 countries that have joined it. Then I haven't found any nation that have signed it, but they are under this umbrella of, I don't know, management by fear, whatever it is. But this is the reason why all of these countries, when are standing sort of like everybody's moving in the same direction. This is what is called Agenda 21. And you can see it, the logo is right there behind them when they are doing press conferences. They're not hiding it at all. So Agenda 21 says that there should be a one world. That world, not very nice. There will be a one world army, the US forces, the NATO and the United Nations forces together as one. There not to protect you, to control you. Sorry about that. 2/3 of us, goodbye, farewell. We're too many. Then they want a one world digital currency, not Bitcoin, but the exact opposite. It's totally centralized, so it can be totally controlling your life. One world microchip population, so a one world religion. All of the religions, they're trying to destroy them now, and I think they're going to use the climate change, the whole Greta Pippi Longstocking type of scenario, to get the whole world under having this global climate threat, and then make that into like a religion, almost like I'm not. And then also they want that the state should own, I kid you not, all water, all air, all land, all energy, all media, all inventions, all police, all military, all property, all, I mean, everything. We're talking everything should be owned by the state, including your children. I shit you not, including your children. When you look into birth certificates and how the system is already set up, indirectly, the state already owns us as property, you know, but now we're talking, it's in your face. And then they said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Look at their beautiful videos where they present the whole thing with a, you know, like a sunset in the background and some nice fiddles playing in the background. So I say, that is wonderful. Okay, if that is the thing, you will own nothing and you will be happy. If that's your mindset, then I would very much like to say, please lead by example. You, the 1%, give up everything you own to the rest of us and you will be happy. That's fantastic. I mean, we want you to be happy. And then you, just by giving back what has been robbed from the world, will get the whole world in economic paradise like this. The 1% can solve it, just like you said before. So thank you so much. And so live by examples. That is always a good idea. And dear Mr. Gates and other people, if you want to depopulate the world, I'm sure you can find yourself a window. I mean, it's not difficult to open it. Just jump out and there's one less to worry about. So that is part of solving the problem. I can even help you if you want, if you have problems, so that is part of the depopulation process. You don't lead by example, but that is not really what we hear. We hear the other thing. What is being presented is they live, they thrive, they have everything. You die, you're a slave, you have nothing, and you should be happy and shut up because you have no say because we are in total control. I mean, that's the mindset of a psychopathic serial killer. We see horror movies about people like that.
That's right. And that's very important information for the viewers. That's how it translates, that we will own nothing and they will be happy. They're trying to control every aspect of our lives. And once they implement a social credit score, which they're very close to doing, they'll have even more control, where people will be locked out of restaurants and they won't be able to frequent certain establishments and businesses. They'll even be locked out of their apartment. They won't be able to have the internet on. I mean, they really want to rule with an iron fist. And there's a way to identify some of these individuals as well with their Freemasonic handshakes and some of the hand signaling that they do. And there was a famous saying as well, they will rule with signs and symbols. That's how we will know who they are. And covering one eye, throwing up the 666 hand sign. These are all telltale markers of how to pretty much analyze these members of these secret societies, these Freemasonic lodges. You can tell a lot by how they conduct themselves, who they surround themselves with. It's all very important how to know this and identify them, isn't it?
Jeff. I mean, so many of them have been identified like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. I mean, it's not difficult. Most of them you can find like in Freemasonic membership area. I'm not saying, Freemasonics, they are the ones behind. What I'm saying is that they are part of it. They are part of it. The Bilderberg Group, for 100% sure, you can chop off my right arm if I'm not correct here. They are absolutely part of the global, the New World Order, that whole structure. The Council of Foreign Relations, I mean, they brag about it, and the Trilateral Commission. These for sure. Okay, you got the Skull and Bones. That's another one. They brag about it. You got the Club of Rome, the Committee of 300. These many members are part of all of them, or individual. So that level on its own, no hiding. It's right out in the open. You can find out. It's like thousands of articles and stuff where the names are there nowadays. Before 2013, they were still trying to say, no, the Bilderberg Group doesn't exist. Yes, it does. It was created 54 at Hotel Oosterbeek. I've been there at Hotel Bilderberg in Oosterbeek, Holland. They're bragging. You come into the entrance. There's a massive big picture of David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger and Prince Reinhard. All of them are there. And it's been, when you go in the archives, you can find, but it's been like small little articles. The Bilderberg meeting is going to be here, here. And then people starting finding out what is going on. So more and more of us started going to these meetings, standing outside saying, who are you? Who are you on the inside? So in the end, in 2000, and also one thing that the more people that started looking at that, just 1 week before the Bilderberg meeting, there was an attack of some kind. I've said it so many years. It's like you count down 9 days, 8 days, about 7 days before the meeting, there will be something like a beheading in Woolwich or something like that. Boom, goes off over there. So media who might have been saying like intrigued to maybe go to the most important thing ever to go and cover that, suddenly, oh, there's a Muslim terrorist attack over there. They just chopped the head of a soldier. So diversion. But anyway, the Bilderberg meetings. So when you see these type of people, We're talking about politicians. We're talking about leaders of countries that are meeting other leaders of countries behind closed doors. What is that called? If you label it, it's called treason. It's called high treason when you meet behind closed doors. You are not allowed to do that. Here, it's out in the open, and they even get taxpayers' money to pay for the flights and the James Bond limos and whatever it is, unbelievable that we allow it. Unbelievable. So it's not difficult. They are in the thousands. We are billions. Really, Jeff, really, is this... why are we even in this situation? Why are we not sitting, kicking back and playing guitar and having a good time in our lives? Why are you looking worried? It's unbelievable how we have let these individuals terrorize us in this way. Management by fear, And what really gets to me is that it's not the big bad boys behind the scenes that are doing it to you. It is people down in the hierarchy that are actually on a street level putting you through absolute hell, that are taking you to court to mess up your life, to find and make up stories about you, whatever it takes to shut you up. Is that the evil bastards behind the scene? No, it is ordinary people who are officially doing their job. I don't think so. I would say the exact opposite. Shame, shame, shame on you. But when you say somebody is powerful, that leader is powerful. No, maybe that leader can say to the army, go there and kill these innocent individuals. If the army goes there, he is so-called powerful. If the army that consists of normal, good people in uniform that have been misled and where these forces have been hijacked, if they just stand up and say, listen, I'm listening to my heart here. This doesn't feel good at all. I don't think I'm going to go and do that. Yes. Then suddenly they do not have any power anymore. It's because we do it for them. We terrorize each other. We are each other's jail warden. We control each other. We snitch on each other. It's like, what is that? Come on, shape up. Make yourself proud of yourself and get out of this.
Well said. We're seeing a lot of that now. A lot of people become foot soldiers for the New World Order, all under the guise of they're trying to hold down a job. And that's simply unacceptable. It's inexcusable to be carrying this out. And it's multiple violations of Nuremberg codes and the secret Bilderberg meetings, a violation of the Geneva Convention, high treason, and everything that's taking place. It's only existing because some of these people, they use that as an excuse that they've got a roof over their head, or they've got a family to support, or they've got mortgage payments, car repayments, and they're just following orders. And some of them are even drinking themselves to sleep overnight because they're trying to wrestle with their own conscience because they know it's not right, enslaving their fellow man. And it's all self-preservation. There's a lot of people, it's very selfish and very greedy to do that. And it's not until that the corruption hits home that then they start doing the right thing. But people should be more proactive and look at what's best for the country and their fellow man, not just for themselves. So, yes, that's right. This whole power structure would collapse if these people would stop supporting it and keeping it in operation. The police, they need to hand in their badge and guns if they are supporting secret devil doers that are trying to enslave the population. They're there to serve and protect, but instead it feels like they're trying to harm and prey on people. And who they're really serving and protecting is the 1%, the elite, not the people who they swore an oath to. So yes, the whole way it's structured, and I'm sure that a lot of these people, they'd be laughing at that back at the lodges, back at the Grove. They're laughing in our face, and we have to take our power back, don't we? And do that and try and follow the legal channels and do it in a way without inflicting pain on anybody else. Try and do that the right way. Petitions, attending protests, and coming together as one, and refusing to take part in this totalitarian system.
It is just like you say, really, it's quite simple. They say, do that. You just say no. Thank you so much for offering me, but I'm saying no. Do that or else. Thank you, but no. The no, is very powerful because it's only from our silence that they indirectly takes as our consent that they get away with these things. I mean, if you walk by in a park and you saw somebody was kicking in the head of a baby, would you not do something to stop it? Yes, you would. If you were any kind of normal, decent person, you would interfere. But here we see that exact thing happening to so many of us, and so many people are saying, "No, well, sorry." It's indirectly a blessing what is going on in the world, because it's putting a lit up flamethrower up your butt, saying, "Who are you? Who are you in this situation? Are you going to be one of them? Or are you going to be another type of person? Are you going to be a torturer or a freedom fighter? Are you going to stand in truth? Or are you going to be totally weak and die, really, hating yourself for being so weak? Are you going to excel and be beautiful and stand in your strength? Or are you going to live by example? Or are you going to be a horrible person? It's up to you. You can choose. Everybody can choose. But I just want to say, Jeff, one thing here. To anyone who listens, look at Jeff here. He is in the middle of one of the hardest, most horrible places in the world right now, targeted. That whole area is targeted. Here we have an individual like Jeff. I don't know you, Jeff, personally, who stands up in truth, even though incoming fire. I can't even imagine what you're going through. That is bravery. He is living by example. He is not saying lynch them, burn them, make his pizza slices out of them. That is not what I hear. But what he's saying is, wake the fuck up. Wake up. Because if we don't do something, this will go straight down the drain into a future that is more horrible than you can ever imagine. Or you can see the promotion videos they have in Hollywood saying, this is the future. Black Mirror, here's the future. It's coming right your way to a theater close to you before you have. So I also want to point out, if something happens to Jeff, if suddenly he's being accused of some bizarre stuff, they try to get to people in all kinds of bizarre ways. If he's suddenly being accused of being a pedophile or a right-wing extremist or a bomb maker or you name it, that has nothing to do with this individual. You will know that he is being set up. I'm saying this to talk to the people who are trying to nail individuals like Jeff here, that back off. We see what you're doing. We see what you're doing. And history has a way of looking at people that are doing stuff like that to normal, decent people in a not very nice way. So for your own security and safety, back off, leave this individual, beautiful, strong, brave individual who is sweating and who is very scared at the moment. No wonder why, and still standing up. This is the type of bravery we have to applaud. This is the type of bravery that all of us should be inspired from. So I applaud you, Jeff. I really do. And I really tell the people that are planning to do something to you, please remember the law of karma. What you do comes back to you. That is a universal law. What you do, what you are planning right now, comes back to you. So back off, leave him alone, and then get back and be part of trying to lift humanity to the next beautiful level, instead of being absolute assholes terrorizing people. Maybe you're getting a good paycheck at the moment to do these type of things to normal, decent, really beautiful people. Maybe you're getting a nice title, but I tell you, once again, after wars, when people start looking back, who actually did that? Who was actually working for them? Who were working for that party? Who were working for the secret police? These are not being treated nicely. So I would say shape up and change your life, change your mindset, get out of whatever it is, because I had to, you do not have to do anything. I was on this show in Sweden, and there was this doctor who called in, and he was sitting there crying, saying, oh, it's so horrible. It's so horrible. I see that they're killing people. I'm part of killing people. It's so awful. I said, it's wonderful that you have a heart. I really, I feel for you. You're crying. That's good. What are you doing to stop the murdering? What are you doing? He said, if I do anything, I will lose my job. So what? I will lose my license. So what? Tell that to the kids that you have just injected with. It's one thing to be emotional. That's great. I applaud that as him stepping forward anonymously, of course, but there's no excuse. We all have to step up the game. There is no excuse.
Thank you very much for your compliments and acknowledgement as well. It's been an absolute war zone here. I've had police and detectives at my house more times than I can remember. I've been shot at with rubber bullets, sprayed with tear gas. Once I was arrested twice in 1 week. They've slammed me on the concrete, and now they're going as far as to frame me with impersonation of a government official. They have very little evidence. They're getting desperate and trying to silence people, and they're doing everything in their capacity to try and target anyone that speaks out about the government. And yes, they're really attacking me, and I'm copying the full force of it here. But yeah, still trying to broadcast and stand up and defend this country from evil. That's all we can do, and be on the right side of history. But yeah, sometimes it feels like it's a difficult road ahead, and it almost feels impossible at times when you see them building these facilities. They're going to try and place people into FEMA camps, like a forced re-education package that comes attached with that, and it's very torturous. A lot of people have tried to escape here and leave the state. A lot of people are trying to make plans to go off grid as well. I know we've been talking about the New World Order and preparations for many years, trying to educate this and get the information through to people. It's not until that they witness the destruction, as we've said, that they realize just how dangerous the situation that people are in. We see a lot of truckers now. They're setting up convoys here in Australia and Canada as well. People are trying to take their power back. They're driving trucks to Parliament houses and trying to send a clear message that we will not tolerate this. That's also leading to a lot of food shortages as well. You go to supermarkets and there's a lot of bare shelves, a lot of meat and bread. It's very difficult, and a lot of inflation as well. So it's a flow-on effect of this disaster, isn't it? Is there many food shortages there where you are? Have you seen many people involved in a lot of activism, a lot of people on the streets campaigning for freedom? Is that what you're seeing there as well?
No, not at all. No. I'm on Bali. I've seen absolute zero of that. But it's very important to understand that these things, like food shortages and empty shelves, it's not a coincidence. It's by design. It's a war that is going on. They're doing it to shut you down, to starve you out, to make you freak out, to make you dependent on government payouts, so that in the end you totally depend on them. And then they can say, Jeff, we are not very happy with what you're saying right now. Are you hungry? Yes. Okay. In that case, shut up. You will get a sandwich. If not, you will not. So we have to get out of that one, because it is not a good place to be in. But I also want to say, when we talk about these things, when you look at who's actually behind it, they are so few. They are so few, and they're ones that are really pulling the strings. Then you go down in the pyramid, or up in the pyramid. If you come down from the sewage level, you come up in the and you start bumping into people more on a sort of like a human type of level, where these individuals, we have to hold them responsible for what they're doing, because it has very, very devastating effects on the normal population. And so I would say these FEMA camps, for instance, you're talking about FEMA camps. Okay, how were they built? Were these built by people pulling the strings in the background? These people who have never done anything to break a sweat in their whole life, I think, maybe except from doing horrible stuff. But anyway, no, they were built by bricklayers. They were built by plumbers. They were built by electricians. Who are they? These people who were given this, well, it's a good new order, it's a good contract it's like 200 million. Really? So you are building prisons for your fellow human being because of your greed and your contract? That is so not okay. Shame on you. Every single electrician who has pulled any kind of cable inside of that, shame on you. Any plumber, any whoever, anyone that is delivering food to these places, shame on you. Anyone that is making the road available, anyone that is giving the building permission, shame on you. Anyone that is cleaning the windows, any staff, all of them, shame on you. Please understand that it is what is going on. What is actually going on? This is not a matter of, yeah, but I've got a $200,000 contract, so I can employ 50 new people. What was your action leading to? They led to something very, very bad. Very, very bad. And one day, maybe you might be on the inside of this beautiful wall that you just built and electrified, because you know too much. Mm-hmm. This is the thing also, people in uniform and military, I speak to them as, like generals and stuff. The generals think that they're safe because they got a lot of medals and, these are the ones that often go the first. When a dictator takes over with the military, with the help of military, check out history. What happens? About a year after, suddenly the ruler starts getting nervous about the top generals because they're starting to see, oh my God, we could just take him out, and then we take over. So what happens? Chop, 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 chop. They chop off the head of all the top layers of generals. Up comes a new one. Another year, another 2 years, chop, 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 chop. So just because you are someone, I am an admiral, I am a general, it means nothing. You are empty uniforms. And that goes down. The lower down you go, the faster this uniform can become empty. You're just their tool. You're being used, you're being abused without knowing it to do horrible stuff. That's the way out. You don't have to stand and scream and say, you just have to say, I'm not doing this. I'm just not doing it. Well, then what? Then you will lose this contract. Well, I survived before it. Okay, it's a difficult situation. I'm not going to break down my soul by doing horrible stuff like that. Who can live with themselves if they...
A lot of people, they're looking for an escape from all of this because they see the road ahead is going to be very difficult and very dangerous, and they're watching their loved ones suffering. That's why the suicide rates are skyrocketing. We had the New Zealand Prime Minister here, Jacinda Ardern. She was grinning and had a big smile from ear to ear when she's talking about how many people are taking their own lives. She was grinning like a Cheshire cat at the thought of just how many people are committing suicide. And we know she's linked into the Davos group, the Build Back Better. They're all involved in these secret clubs and groups. And there's even pictures of her in Freemason attire. So it all definitely goes back to that. But yes, very heartless individuals. That's who we're dealing with, isn't it?
They're very, very few. And we are very, very many. Very, 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 very many. I spoke to this mathematician and he said, when you look at, if you compare the number of them with the number of us, it's like standing on a white beach, a sandy beach. You pick up 1 grain of sand, that's them. The rest of the beach, that is us. So it's like, I'm still like, why are we in this situation? I mean, this is 40 years of my life. I've been standing, hello, hello, hello. There's this truck coming and there's no driver behind it. It's coming right at us. Why are we in this situation? It's unbelievable. But indirectly, it is a blessing in disguise because now it's so obvious that even Fred and Wilmer in the sofa are starting to, sitting home and like, I posted about carrots today on Facebook and it was shut down because I said use rainwater. What is that? So it's coming to a level where it's so bizarre that even so-called ordinary people feel this bad breath of this beast. Like, so indirectly, it is a blessing, because apparently we have been not cared enough, up until now, to wake up. Some of us have, you have, I know, and you have paid a high price for it. You're still standing, Jeff. I have to salute you. There are not a lot of people that could deal with it like you are. I really want to buy you a cold beer on the other side of this when we meet up one day. It's going to be a big joy and an honor for me to do that. And I also hope that people around you will see what you're doing instead of criticizing you, will see who you actually are, and the bravery, whatever shape it takes, to stand and do what you're doing right now. Well, anyway,
thank you very
blowing
much.
Smoke up your...
No, because look, they want everyone to be silent. They want everyone to be living in fear, to shut down their YouTube channels and be living in silence. But we cannot give them that satisfaction. We must always stand up and show bravery and courage. And when we exemplify those qualities and traits, then that encourages others to show bravery as well. And this has been a very powerful broadcast. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. We've really imparted some very important information on the guests and the viewers. Is there any closing statements that you'd like to leave for the viewers before we close off and wrap up this broadcast?
There are indeed, Jeff.
Yeah.
I would say, do you know how many weapons they have against us? They have about one. And that weapon is fear. The only thing they have against us, that they can use against us, is fear. That is it. It's all fear-based. So, okay, that's good news. So it's not 1,000 different things I have to deal with. It's actually one. So the thing is, where is fear? So would you mind, go down to the local supermarket and get me 5 pounds of fear? Can you do that? No, you cannot. Is it square? Is it round? Is it blue? No, it is not. So where is it? Well, it is very, very real. Where? Inside my head. Okay, so actually it's only located inside my head. That's another interesting thing, because then you can start dealing with it. And the beauty of fear is that it's always connected to the future, to something that has not yet happened. Meaning, when you think of it, it's pure speculation. And so many people are letting this emotion control them. So fear, that they're trying to say all the time, it's real, it's happening now, it's happening now. If you don't do then this, and if I don't this, all of that. It's like, if you live in the here and now at all times, even if you got a gun against your head, the thing is there a reason to be afraid? Really, when you think of it, maybe it's not loaded, maybe it's made of licorice, maybe it's he's gonna point it the other way before. Really, when you think of it, instead of your mind going into, your mind can do anything. It is like they say in Raj Yoga, they say it's like a drunken monkey stung by a bee, high on acid. That's the mind, if you cannot start controlling it. So the thing is, if fear is the only thing that they have against us, then I would say then to become fearless, the more fearless you can become, this is the way out of it. And then the word no. The no, you don't have to get aggressive. You don't have to throw rocks or bricks or whatever. You just have to say absolutely no. You do this or else. No. You put on this or else. No. You do that, please. And the whole thing, please come with us. No. Thank you, but no. Be gentle and kind and absolutely not play along. Thank you, but absolutely no. But in that case, we will have you sign a paper. No, thank you so much, but no. Then you will be taken to court. That's very kind of you, but thank you, but no. Then we will come and get you. Thank you. No, maybe they will come and get. It's like the thing, it's all the time in the future. Be here and now and just say thank you, but no. Thank you, but no. Am I under arrest or am I free to go? No, thank you. Be kind and just absolutely no. And stand in your truth, just like you so beautifully do. And use whatever inspiration or talent or whatever it is to make a difference. I am going to end with a story about cookies. Would you like to hear a story about cookies? The power of a cookie?
Certainly.
Because many people say to me, so what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? That's my sweetheart had even written a book called So What Can I Do? You can find it on Amazon. Because this is the thing. Okay, now I see it, but what can I do? Anyway, so there were these true story. There was this gathering of grandmothers. I think it was in Chicago. It was in one of these really bad neighborhoods. Anyway, so there was a lot of gang shootings, a lot of horrible brutality with police and showdowns, awful high criminality and stuff. So these grandmothers who saw their grandchildren being killed and hurt and everything, they gathered together and they said, "What can we do? So what can I do?" So what they did was they baked cookies. Okay. So what they did with these cookies, first they looked up the police, and many of these police officers that were very, infamous for being brutal and horrible and all. Most of them lived a life where they didn't know every morning when they left their families, "Goodbye, darling. I'm not sure if I'm going to return today alive," because it was that bad. So fear generates violence. It generates, too much of these things. So they approached these police officers, quite some of the absolute worst of them, and offered them milk and cookies. This was the most kind action they had maybe received during their whole career. One of them almost started crying because it was just so unexpected. He was used to being spat at and puked at and called all kinds of names. And here somebody was kind to him. So that really got to him. So these cookies started a conversation between the grandmothers and the police officer. So then the grandmothers took their cookies and they went into gangland. And they offered these heavily tattooed, very criminalized individuals, very scared, very violent individuals who was in a war, milk and cookies. And so they were like, what? And these grandmothers were so harmless that they were let into these areas that it was a no-go zone. And so communication started between the grandmothers and the gang. And then they had joint cookie meetings with the police and the gang members where they shared milk and cookies and spoke to each other. And the crime rates went down like that. All of these unnecessary shootings of innocent individuals went down like this. And the area started calming down. The power of a cookie. I tell you, Jeff, this thing for me is super symbolic, because what can I do? Ask yourself, what are you good at? Are you good at are you a good carpenter? Can you this? Can you that? Can you grow vegetables? Can you, freedom fighters like yourself need a good meal? Can you give him a foot massage? Yes, I can do that. I'm not frontline activist, but I can really give him a good foot massage. Yeah, I can rub, scratch his back. I can help this. I can do this. I can, let's help each other. And then speak to people who don't go for the bad ones. The psychopaths, they're beyond help, leave that. They will fall. When the system cracks, when we stop doing it for them, this whole thing will just inflate like that. Boom. So don't even focus about them. Bad. Yes, we know it. We've known it for many years. But it's because we are obeying it. That's the thing. So reach the heart of people on a street level, your neighbors, don't try to convince them that the world is bad and horrible. And, don't try to find the heart of people and live by example. And then when you know someone who is a Freemason, don't treat them like they're the devil themselves, or try to reach them through like, really, does that, ask them questions. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And then welcome their response so that you can get a communication going. Police uniforms, SWAT teams, all of these people, many of these police people in police uniforms, I don't know in Australia, but I can almost guarantee you, people that come in police uniforms, check out the uniforms. In quite a few countries, the uniforms are almost identical, but it's not. These are private contractors that we think, oh my God, the police are coming. Yeah, almost. It's not the real one. They have everything, including the cars, almost identical, but they're not private contractors. So they have no legal right over you at all. These are often thugs, not very clever, that have not been informed about anything, but are being paid not very good paid wages either. So it's like, why on earth are you doing that? But anyway, speak to them, don't fight them, speak to them, try to get to their mind, into their mindset, go through the heart and speak to the human part of them. I saw something beautiful in Iran after the revolution, where the soldiers were ordered to shoot at the crowds, innocent people, and the people were just coming back. They were sticking down roses down the barrels of these.
Yes.
But what I really liked was there were these grandmothers. One is again grandmothers, the power of grandmothers. They were bringing mirrors. And what they were doing, they were holding up the mirrors in front of these soldiers, saying, they didn't say anything, they just held them up. And it was more or less, really, is that really, look at yourself, is this what you wanted to be? Someone who's standing here threatening to bash my head in. I'm a 79-year-old woman.
I've heard
is
that before.
Is this really who you are proud of being?
Yeah.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. And
that's a remarkable story. And that's very touching and very beautiful. And people from opposite sides of the spectrum coming together and understanding one another, that can stop a lot of wars and a lot of feuds. And the information that you've delivered today, wonderfully spoken, very inspirational, very motivational as well, because fear can be paralyzing. But if we don't give in to that, we rise up and live in some of our higher emotions, love, compassion, kindness and sincerity, then we can achieve wonders and great results and think a lot clearer as well. So very important that we had the opportunity to broadcast this information, and I'm sure people will benefit greatly. Continued success with everything you're doing. Let's do another show very soon and try and stay safe. And hopefully we can get a miracle here and people, we can go back to living some sort of normality and restore some peace, especially here in this war zone. So thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been very powerful.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And I just want to say to the people I addressed before, back off, back off, back off, back off, leave Jeff alone. And the thing is, you can do it now and you can hurt him now, but there will be a tomorrow where you will be held accountable. So you better back off and leave him alone. And join the rest of us to be part of creating a fantastic, beautiful future for your children as well. If you didn't understand it, we are doing all of this for you, your children and grandchildren included. So why are you fighting us? It's just pure stupidity. Anyway, so thank you so much, Jeff, for inviting me once again.
You're more than welcome. That was perfect. Thank you.